In this video, we will be talking about the configuration of Gmail authentication in Sangfor IAM. In the Gmail authentication configuration guidelines, it consists of three main parts, which are configuration steps for Gmail authentication in Sangfor IAM, configuration of Gmail authentication server, and authentication process. For the configuration steps in Sangfor IAM, we will configure external authentication server and authentication policy accordingly. Next, for the configuration of Gmail authentication server, we require to do configuration on Google Developer Platform and IAM authentication server. Lastly, for the authentication process, we will perform testing to show the Gmail authentication is working. How to configure Gmail external authentication server in Sangfor IAM. First, go to User, External Auth Server. Click on Add and select Social Media Account, Gmail. Fill in the name for this external authentication server. Now go to Google Developer Platform with your Google account. Go to Credentials, click Create Credentials and select OAuth Client ID. Select Web Application. Go to Authorized Redirect URLs, click Add URL. Head back to IAM's web UI and click on Clone to copy the callback domain from IAM. After that, head back to Google Developer Platform and paste the domain URL into the Authorized Redirect URL field. Click on Submit at the bottom of the web page. Copy the generated client ID and client secret and paste it to IAM's APID and app secret field. Click on Commit to create Gmail authentication server. Now you can see the authentication server is created. How to enable Gmail authentication in Google Developer Platform. Click on Library. Scroll down and find Gmail API in API Library. Click on Enable, to allow us to use Gmail login as authentication method. As we can see here, the Gmail API is enabled. You can disable the API by clicking on the Disable button. How to configure authentication policy for Gmail authentication in Sangfor IAM. Go to Users, Authentication, Authentication Policy. Click on Add. Fill in the policy name and the IP range that you want to apply Gmail authentication. Click on Next to proceed to Auth method. Click on Auth server and choose the Gmail authentication that you created in previous part of video. Click on Next again. Click on Commit to submit this policy. As we can see, the policy is created. Authentication process. To do testing on authentication, you can use a PC that located within the IP range that you added inside the authentication policy. In this scenario, user try to browse google.com and it is not yet passed the authentication. Click on the Gmail logo and it will auto-redirect you to Gmail account login page. Enter your Gmail account and password. System will redirect back to the URL that you key in before the authentication. As you can see, you had logged into your Google account and passed the authentication. Go back to IAM and check in status, online user. You can see there is an entry which use your Gmail account as username. In the end of this tutorial, we have learned on the configuration steps for Gmail authentication in Sangfor IAM. The configuration steps for Google Developer Platform to enable Gmail authentication. How to verify the authentication process for Gmail authentication.